1965, the sleepy town of Exeter, New Hampshire, became an unwitting landmark in the annals of the unexpected. It was here that a series of startling encounters would unfold, etching the name Exeter into the cosmic consciousness of UFO enthusiasts and skeptics alike. This was not Hollywood fiction, but real-life drama played out under the starry canopy of the New England night sky. Citizens, average and unsuspecting, found themselves thrust into a bewildering ballet of lights and mystery. Their tales of close encounters would not only captivate the nation, but also rattle the corridors of power and science. At a time when the space race was in full swing and Cold War tensions simmered, these celestial visitations raised questions that transcended the terrestrial squabbles of humankind. Was Exeter a waypoint in an interstellar journey, a cosmic crossroad of otherworldly interest? This case file join the theorists as they venture into the vortex of vintage sightings in the Exeter UFO Incident.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing Case File 303, the Exeter Incident. 303?
He actually did exactly what he just said he was going to do.
Yeah. I'm Braden.
I'm Zelt.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
It's actually the Exeter Incident is what it's actually called.
The Executor sounds more official, though.
The Executor?
Yeah. The Executor
The
Incident.
Executor Incident?
Yeah, it sounds, there's so many cooler names you can say if you can't read.
Sweet 80s movie.
The Executor. The Equalizer?
It's so funny because I was getting into a good back and forth with someone on Discord. They're like, I feel like you guys have really moved away from talking about aliens. And I was like,
three episodes.
Well, I mean, I was like, you know, the schedule, we had Spooktober, then 300 in November, and then 2 interviews. So like, I can feel that like in the last 2 months, but we primarily talk about UFOs only. And then, so when I posted the fucking Patreon, I was like, you never talk about aliens on there. And I was fucking getting some good chirps.
Yeah, we did have Spooktober and then okay.
Yeah, it was kind of back up. I understand.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's not wrong. But it's not because we're moving away from aliens.
No.
He's like, you guys had a new logo and it has an alien on it, and I feel like you're moving away from that. I was like,
all of a sudden
all along.
The new logo has you being abducted by aliens, but I think you're moving away.
We don't talk about aliens.
You guys get this new logo, and then you're bringing on fucking multi-level marketing schemes and shit like that. What the fuck?
yeah. He's like, what the fuck? How come you're mad at us, bro? You now have infinite money.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Why are you talking shit to us? No, this is actually. It's been a while since I've looked into a case where I was like, shit. With the people who witnessed this event and everyone involved and the story itself, it's a fucking wild one where it's not one where right away I'm going, all right, it could be something else. I'm fucking firmly with these witnesses that they saw a fucking extraterrestrial event. 100%, without a doubt. I mean, the most credible witnesses, absolute insane attempts at disproving this. We're going to get into it. Where does this one begin? Where does it kick off here?
So this one is in the the prime UFO time of the 1960s on September 3rd, 1965 the estimate is around 2 a.m. You had Norman Muscarello, who was hitchhiking down Route 50 towards Exeter and Kensington. So Exeter is a small New England town of about like 7,000 people at the time.
And he's this is 2 a.m. He's just turned 18 or almost 18. Some reports said he was like just before 18, and others were like, he's now 18.
Does that have
this guy?
Are you preluding to something sexual in nature? Is that why you're bringing?
Yes. Well,
it's 2 a.m.
I mean, listen, it's 2 a.m. He's walking back from his girlfriend's house. Right, like
I think the distinction between 17 and 18 is very important because we're talking hand job or are we talking like fuck it, I don't know. Right? Like that's
How many bases did this guy? Because
how many did he clear?
I guarantee you, this guy fucking walked there. The walk there was so fast.
Sprinted.
Oh, your parents aren't home? Like, let's fucking go.
Yeah, little
I'll sprint there.
Like, hey, listen, I walked from one time from my parents' house to Uplica and Rosa for a hand job. Like, that's a long walk, man. I was sweaty when I got there. Right? It took me like 3.5 hours.
He pre-lubricated is what you're saying.
0 regrets, I'd imagine.
Oh, 0 until I had to walk home. Until the walk home, then you're like,
and you're walking home with the shame.
Yeah.
Kind of like the ending.
You're like, God
the
damn,
incredible.
you're like,
It's the ending of the Incredible Hulk, and you're walking by with your head fucking hanging
clarity.
low.
You're just what have I done?
And you're like, God damn, how far is this
dumb
walk?
idea.
Like, no one's gonna pick me up.
I'm gonna have to see this shit at school tomorrow. Like,
This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So like that's what's happening to this guy. 2 in the morning, like he's getting home, like he's like, fuck, this is the worst. He's hitchhiking. You know how desperate you got to be to fucking hitchhike.
That he got there and then he's like, he probably had no plan for going back, and he's just like,
you
know
never
what's on his mind. You know what's on his mind. Yeah, everything was just like. And then he's like, wait, how do I get home?
This guy thought he was spending the night. Could you imagine that? He's like, fucking parents are gone.
Yeah.
I'm spending the night. And she's like, you better go home now. And he's like, it's 2 in the fucking morning. What are you talking about? What? 2 in the morning?
I don't know. I mean, ninja grenade, smoke bomb, get the fuck out. I'll walk. Doesn't matter. Just get me out of there.
Yeah, but you're 17. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, yeah, this
It's
is
the pleasure of having an away game. Whenever you had an away games, you go to Walt. See you later.
Yeah.
Right? Like
You definitely
Tip the hat.
yeah.
You definitely know this is like
Andrew needs the home field advantage for the implication.
No. Fucking away games. I'm all about away games. I'm away game all day. There's no up. You're the one saying bye.
So you definitely know this is like pre-Stephen King days, because if you have somebody hitchhiking down a highway and like past midnight, you're like, you're either getting picked up by a car full of vampires or you're getting run over by a haunted car. Like that's what's happening. I don't like
Christine just mows you over.
Yeah, pretty much. So on this night, Muscarello recalls that it was a very clear night. And he said he can remember seeing the stars. It's a pretty good view of the night sky, and he could actually see planes, like, because they were near they were in a flyover area, so he's like he saw planes in
and there's like a military base nearby and stuff, so it's like it's not uncommon to see planes in the sky.
But besides these the normal lights that he had seen and observed and was familiar with, he said that he noticed an unusual light. And he thought these lights were initially from a house near the beach area. So it's like from where they are, it's like a couple miles to the to like Hampton Beach, like it's just, which is out to the east. So he was like looking in that direction. So he thought that these lights were just like part of a house or something, like they are just like kind of sitting there. But then he realized that these lights were approaching him, and they didn't.
And they were pulsating. They were pulsating like in a weird pattern. They were pulsating in like a 1. There was 5 lights, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like a weird.
Did it have like a sign? Did it have a sign like number 5? Like 5,
no, but there's like five lights you could see, and so it would be like, you know, boom, boom, boom,
5
boom,
lit up.
and then back.
I see.
And then back the other way.
Imagine this kid's like super religious too, and he just like maybe had sex for the first time. He's walking home, and all these fucking heavenly lights start coming down, chasing him.
He's about to be smited.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jesus.
So he observed these pulsating lights coming from the north, heading in a southwesterly direction towards him. So it's like coming out from the coming out from where the beach, like Hampton, towards the East Coast, would be coming towards him. And then now he thought they were like, as they were approaching him, now he's like, okay, they're not house lights, because obviously they're moving. Like maybe these are some kind of like emergency vehicle lights, like because they had this, like Braden mentioned, he observed this like sequential blinking pattern of the lights,
and it's like a red light. It's like a red light, right? Like that's why he's leaning to, like, you know, I mean, I don't know what it is all in the States, but like red and white up here is ambulance.
Yeah. Like back then it would have been just like, it probably would have been red. Like it just would have been red like a police car or an ambulance or something like that. But as these lights seemed to draw nearer to him, he realized that these lights seemed to be actually hovering just above the tree line. Like they weren't moving down. They weren't like whatever. They were just above the tree line, like moving across there. And it's like, that's not something that you would normally see. And as it got closer to him, Muscarello could make out some type of object, like this object, which he estimated to be about like 80 to 90 feet in diameter, floating above, hovering above the tree line. And that this object, as it was moving, like he realized that this thing was moving pretty quick because like, of where it was before, like he observed it moving, and then it's moving over the tree line, like in his direction. When he saw like how large this thing is, he's like, this thing is moving pretty fast.
He also, like, one of the reports I read is that like at this instance, like not only it wasn't just gliding like smooth, it was like moving in like, and also like a rocking, like as it moved silently, like over the treetop. So he's like watching this giant thing just like kind of like fucking rock back and forth as it's like along the tree line. So it's like, it looks super unnatural to him because he's like, this like flight pattern isn't making sense in my head of how this thing is moving.
Yeah, it's not moving like a traditional aircraft or anything that he's familiar with, seen in kind of the skies.
So it's just rocking
Exeter.
like this, like
like a falling leaf, like kind of back and forth.
That's what I mean. Like that's what it kind of sounds like. Looks like it's something like a balloon.
But
or
at
something
the same time,
like,
it's moving like to the side as it's like in this rocking formation, right? So he's just like, "What is this?"
And so then another thing that he starts to notice is that this object being like in close proximity to him, he can't hear any noise coming from this object. Like he can't hear anything. The only sounds that he said that he remembers hearing is that he remembers hearing the sounds of some agitated horse. Like there were horses in a nearby farm, like on the road, like off to the side, and he could hear from a corral where they were keeping horses. Like he could hear the horses becoming more and more agitated, like neighing and anything that kind of something was spooking them, obviously. And then there's also, he says that he kind of remembers that all the kind of other ambient sounds, like ambient nature sounds, like crickets. He says that that all stopped. Like, or he tuned it out, but he's saying that he couldn't hear anything. That's
an interesting point and I'm going to revisit that later on when we get to another part of this story. But it's just interesting that you said that to me, and I just want to reiterate that that's really weird with what happens later. And I never
they freeze time or something like that.
I never put these dots together until you said that now. So just remember when we're discussing this, that all this
remember
nature
that part?
stops. Yeah, remember that part.
Which part? I'll bring it. Should we bookmark it? Just remember
the nature
Can
part.
you tell me to remember? Like, just tell me what you want me to remember again, just so I don't forget it.
Okay, so what I would like you to remember is that when the UFO was moving.
Yeah.
How was it moving?
All the nature stopped.
Yeah.
It was rocking as like a falling leaf.
Okay. And why is it significant again? Why do you want us to remember?
Because all the nature stopped.
Okay.
Nature stopped.
Nature
stopped.
Ceased to exist.
Nature stopped.
Andrew, can you write that down? Can you write that down?
You got a note down
nature
there?
Ceases to live.
nature.
Ceases to nature. Yeah.
Nature ceases to nature.
Yeah. So this object goes and like approaches Muscarello, and it goes directly over his head, as he said. And this object is tremendously bright, like when it goes over his head, and that it's so bright that Muscarello said that as he observed it going over his head, like he like had temporary night blindness as it went over. Like he had to like blink. He compared it to having your picture taken with a camera flash and just having that.
It's like when you're Zell and you look at the eclipse without your fucking obsidian lens.
If you think you can squint, you can't. All right.
And then you got the fucking sunspot for the next year and a half.
I still have them. They're still in there. We've lost 20% vision.
Zell, a cautionary tale.
Me and Trump have the same eyesight now. Remember when he fucking starts?
You see everything in the fucking color of Donald Trump, just orange, just like a dusty orange.
It's fried all the rods and cones except what sees orange.
So all the rods are gone. The cones are
all
that remains.
So after he regains like most of his vision and he's kind of looking for this object, he said that it appeared to disappear for an instant and then come back. So whether it was kind of turning around or whether this thing kind of left and then came back at speed, he's not really sure, but he's able to observe it coming back on a return trajectory, heading back towards it, like seeming to either it noticed him or something, and it's coming back towards Muscarello. So displaying this kind of intelligence, Muscarello is, understandably, frightened at this point.
And one of the things he reported is that like not only was it trajectory headed to him, but it was dropping altitude to the point where he was like, this thing's gonna fucking crash into me. He's like, holy shit. He's standing on the side of the road, fucking leaps into the ditch, like just like abandons all hope and leaps into the ditch as this thing's approaching.
I think it's super important too. Like we touched on earlier, Dan, post-nut clarity, right? Like, so part of that too is like at the point when you're like, you're done, your adrenaline, everything's done. Like you got what you needed. Like you want to sleep or
you got no
or
flight in you. It's all
you're
flight,
all
baby.
Flight at that point in time. Like you're rest and digest. You're like, the job has been done. You're like, that's like, that's too much for anyone to handle.
Yeah.
That's way too much. I'd be crying. I'd be in the fetal position being like, there's nothing to do. Just take me away.
Well, it doesn't say that he didn't cry. So
Muscarello, that basically is like, he jumped in the ditch like screaming. Like,
yeah, like he got nothing left.
Muscarello does recall like jumping into, well, not exactly jumping into. He said that he kind of ran off the side of the road and that he just pretty much tripped. It wasn't like he made a conscious decision to jump into the ditch. It's more like he said that he tripped and like
he leapt.
Oh, that was
said he leapt into the ditch. But there's varying reports on all this.
There is like, I read like one interview with him, like that was said that he's like, I didn't really jump into dive. He's like, I didn't plan to dive in the ditch. I just ran and then I tripped and fell into the ditch. I guess for dramatic purposes, it's better when he dives, I suppose.
Yeah.
So looking up, like, moving his head up from where he fell, Muscarello is able to see this object, like illuminating, like at least like two of these houses or one of these houses. He had this pair of houses that he's able to see like off to the side of the road. And he actually knew the people who lived in one of these houses, which was the dining family. And then also there's another house next to it, but the dining family one, he says he remembers seeing it like put it in stark relief as this object seemed to like illuminate it with this like crimson light emanating from the object. So
and he's like, I'm going to the other house.
Yeah, it sounds. I mean, it sounds very like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, like that read like putting it on this house. But he remembers that being just like right there. And so, Muscarello decides to run to the neighboring house which he didn't know who lived there at the time, but this was the Russell family. And he starts pounding on their door, like trying to either get them to come out and see this or, let him in to get away from this object. I mean, he's just trying to get help at this point.
He wants out of the fucking, he wants out of the dark and like he like into somewhere safe. That's what he 100%. He's not knocking to be like, hey, check this crazy shit out. He's like,
he's crying. He's screaming. Could you imagine though, at like 2:30 in the morning, whatever, you got some random dude banging on your door, like, I don't know.
Yeah. So the dining family, the one house that is
that's maybe one of the greatest last names I've ever heard, though.
The dining family.
Dining. Your last name is Dining.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's a good name. You know his name, Dick Dining.
It's a good name.
So the dining family wasn't at home at the time. So the one that was being illuminated by this object, like they weren't actually home. But the Russell family actually confirms like the events that they remember Muscarello pounding on their door, but they didn't want to answer it because it is 2 a.m.
Yeah, don't blame them.
And there's a giant red light illuminating outside. So they're like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Quick round. Who's any of you guys answering the door?
This is going to be a very similar situation to us on the roof of the Pasadena Airbnb.
Oh my God.
Someone answers the door, is like, we're going to shoot you, actually.
Yeah,
that was scary.
Yeah.
If you didn't yell, you were going to die through the window. We were going to shoot you off the roof.
Yeah.
Would any of you guys answer the door though?
Probably not.
It's like 2 a.m. Like
with a shotgun, I might. If I had some type of fucking gun.
Yeah.
No, I'd probably scream. I'd probably be screaming.
Jamie, get the door.
I'd stick the barrel of the gun through the mail slot in the door and like fucking poke the guy.
Yeah.
No.
Muscarello does comment, like he doesn't hold a grudge against the Russell family, because he's saying that, yeah, it's like, I wouldn't open the door either. And he made kind of a point where he said that like somebody random is pounding on your door. There's no car lights, so this person just showed up. Like they just showed up on your doorstep.
Well, there's no car light.
No cars,
there's just a giant
no
red light outside, illuminating outside, as if it's some sort of fucking photo lab, dark room.
You'd answer it?
Yeah, I feel too guilty if I didn't. I would bring something.
Do you have a peephole?
Yeah,
Are you looking through the peephole first, or are you just fucking whipping the door open?
Oh yeah,
You're whipping the door
I'm
open?
peeping.
You got your goof beater behind the door, like, you know, like
Yeah, no, I got my Louisville slugger and be like, listen, man, like, what's going on? Like,
Hey,
stay
buddy.
outside. Tell me what the fuck the problem is.
Yeah. Just
Right?
step away 6 feet back,
Yeah,
please.
Yeah,
See,
and then we'll have a conversation.
I feel like me and Andrew have a similar issue where it's like the women we're with are like fucking, they're like, I'll fight, but you're like, you can't fight.
No, you
So that's
can't.
gonna fall on me, and I can't fight. Like I don't want to open no doors. I'm not open. Like I'm not checking downstairs in the
Their
dark.
mouths
you
are
kidding
cash
me?
and checks. Our bodies can't. fucking handle our body. Like,
That's exactly
not a
right.
thing,
That's
yeah.
exactly right.
Just not a thing.
And like, because I feel like I'd be like, I could see someone knocking at two of them, and I'd be like, don't open the door. And Jamie'd be like, motherfucker, if my boyfriend's gonna open the door,
Gonna wake my
beat your
baby up.
ass. And I'm like,
Brayden's standing there shaking his head like, no.
Do you want money?
No,
Do you want
thank
money? What do you want?
What do you need? I'm just sliding my wallet through the door.
Yeah.
Take it.
Go away, please.
Honey, that's Michael Myers.
Please, you want food? Shoving everything through the mail slot. I'm not opening the door. There's not a fucking chance, dude. So the amount of times I've heard of people like fucking, he could be pounding and be like, help me, I'm bleeding. I'm gonna die. I'll be like, I'll call 911. You just wait out there and try to
Slide
stop
a
the bleed,
Band-Aid
my
out the
friend.
door.
Yeah.
A couple Band-Aids.
Yeah, there you go. Here's a roll of toilet paper. Clot that. I'm not opening the door. Never. 2 a.m? Never.
Probably answering the door.
I don't open the door when I see an Amazon delivery truck pull up and they knock on my fucking door. I sit in the window like,
Yeah, but that's different. This person's like having some type of emergency, right? Anything like.
Yeah.
2 a.m, dude.
I think he was being pretty vocal about what it was. I mean, he didn't know what was going on, obviously, but it's like, he's just like, I need help or something like that.
Yeah,
Help.
Why?
I
I would feel obligated. Like, I don't know. I'm just.
I'm not opening the door. Sorry, Muscarello. He comes to my door. I'm gonna be like, Jamie, pretend no one's home. Just lay there.
Just looking at us through the window.
Yeah. So after not receiving
I
a
can see you. Help, please.
after not receiving a response, and the Russell family isn't opening the door, Muscarello decides to run back out to the road, determined to flag someone down. To get help or something, to get away. I think he remembers just saying, like, I just wanted to get away at that point. I need to get away from here.
There's like 2 things about this. One, there has not been a lot of vehicles traffic for him because he's been unsuccessful.
Yeah. He said there were a couple, but like they didn't.
But they just didn't even stop.
And who would?
And, no.
It's 2 a.m.
Exactly. And like
I feel like you would. Like, I don't know. Somebody looks
Dude,
like they're
after this,
especially in the 65. You're like, somebody's not on bath salts in 1965.
Yeah, sure.
You didn't find out what's wrong with this fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like now
That's
you're
true.
like,
there wasn't an opioid crisis.
yeah, you can't drive downtown without seeing a guy doing this to your car. Like it's pretty normal. You just fucking lock your doors.
Serial killers didn't exist until after 1965.
Yeah, but the way he's approaching it, he looks like it seems genuine, right?
Dude, he's so fucking terrified that he's running down the road and he sees a car coming. He's like, fuck it. He just jumps in the middle of the road. He's like, nah, like I'm willing to get hit. Like that's how scared he is. He's fucking flagging this thing down. He stops the hood and like, it's not like one of those things where he like gets out of the way to talk. He's like yelling at the hood. He's like, I need help. I need help. Take me to the police. Take me to the police. I need help. Like you cannot go anywhere. And the person's like, fuck, get it. Sure. Okay, kid, get in.
Well, because the person driving around at 2:30 in the morning too is a little fucking shady.
Oh, dude.
Well,
Whoa.
Right? Who's people driving around is what I want to know.
So,
dude, it is shady.
So a little bit. So now, according to an interview with Muscarello, he said, fortunately for him, he actually knew the driver of the car. Like he knew who it was, but like it was an acquaintance of his or a friend. But he has never. I think he died actually in 2003, but he never revealed the identity of this driver because he said that the driver of the car, and there are some accounts that only put the single driver in the car. There are other accounts that say there was a couple that picked him up, and Muscarello says that it was definitely a couple, and the lady that was in the car was not that guy's wife.
Oh,
that tracks. 2:30 in the morning. That's some crazy shit.
And he's like, you can't say shit.
But
dude, imagine that guy. You're like, you've just fucking, you're with your mistress, and then some kid you fucking know is in the middle of the road. You're like,
I'm like, listen,
and he's
go fucking 2 for 2 here. Get the fuck out of my way, dude.
You're like, I leave no witnesses.
Here's my question though. Now, are they going, like, is this guy who picks him up, is he coming from this person's house or away from this person's house? Does he have post-nut clarity too?
I don't know.
Are they both suffering from post-nut clarity?
Well, the only thing we know is this guy drives Muscarello directly to the police station and drops him off. And then he's like, see you later. You never saw me.
Killing my vibe,
Peace
dude.
out. Yeah. You never saw me. I was never here. I never picked you up. Goodbye.
Yeah. But I mean, it was nice enough to like drive him to the police. Yeah, so he drives him they drop him off at the police station, and then leave because nobody ever talks to them essentially again. And Muscarello's like never says who that was who picked him up.
Good. I mean, listen,
bro code all the way.
Muscarello's an honorable man. This guy, he keeps his word.
Bro code all the way.
That being said, don't cheat on your wife. So that's true.
Yeah, no,
of
that's
course
fucking
not.
shitty.
Well, we don't know.
He's shitty.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe he picked up another.
maybe it was a lady of the night.
If you did though, you better you better hope that you run across a Muscarella and not someone else.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it was just a situation that even if it's just the look of it, it's just a bad look. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe there was nothing. It was just a totally benign encounter between these two people.
A bad look could be for you could almost be just as bad as the real thing. Like it wouldn't matter.
So just
you get busted with a chick in your car at 2:30 in the morning. You're just like, oh man,
there's no coming back from that. There's no coming back.
We're going to Denny's.
Yeah,
no, buddy, you're paying fucking child support.
I picked up this random girl. She said she would repay me by getting me some moons over Miami. What am I supposed to do? So aren't you a serial hitchhiker picker upper? I can see you falling.
Because he sucks their blood.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unsolved
fucking
crimes and
gas or blood.
What is this? Some sort of fucking?
No, I'm not saying there's a lot of unsolved crimes, and not me, but someo's killing hitchhikers.
It's not me, but
it's not me, but someone's killing hitchhikers. Often.
Definitely not me.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of missing people over the years.
Hitchhikers are getting killed. It's not me.
If you're hitchhiking late night, it's got to be the number one way.
Hey,
that's the number one way to be erased from this planet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
It's got to be the number one.
Times that by 100 if you're a female.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
So at the exit, so they drive him to the Exeter police station, and you have
but I think here we have to do a kind of a timeout here and just like rewind the clock on the night's event and like now look at the Exeter police station of what was happening there that night.
Yeah,
because what's happening there is like you have this officer Bertrand. Seasoned officer, he's a former Air Force, kind of a hard-nosed cop, real straight shooter. He's been running the beat or whatever. He's driving and he comes over an overpass and there's like a car parked in the middle of the fucking road. And in this car, there's two women like huddled, crying, like freaking the fuck out, having a meltdown. And he's like, women drivers can't fucking navigate this fucking overpass. So he goes to the window, knocks. He's, hey, ladies, how's it going today? They start freaking the fuck out saying like, hey, something's chasing us. There's something in the sky that's fucking chasing our vehicle. It's following us all over the place. We finally lost it. We're fucking scared. These women are hysterical. He talks to them for like 15-20 minutes and is like basically like, all right, ladies, you're fine, go on, head on your way. He heads back to the station and he's telling the boys at the station, this is like a local police, small little fucking butt fuck nowhere town. There's only a couple of police. He's like, fucking crazies are out tonight, boys. I was fucking 2 women fucking over the turnpike there, having a fit because they, thought some lights were chasing them, and there's UFOs out there. And fuck, everyone's having a laugh at the police station. Right? Like, holy shit. Like, what's going on tonight? We're getting some calls about fucking lights in the house. They're all kind of having a laugh. And then fucking in storms Muscarello, fucking having an absolute come apart. Being like, there's fucking something out there fucking chasing me. It's in the wind. It's silent. And all these guys are like, oh shit. Like, fuck. We got to do work tonight. God damn it.
So would this be his second come apart?
Yeah, it's his second come apart.
Or has he just been consistently coming apart?
He's been consistently coming apart, unraveling, let's say, since nature stopped naturing.
Make sure that's bookmarked, by the way. Why do we have to remember that again? What was the deal with that?
It'll come up.
It'll come up. He'll remind us.
Okay.
There'll be a callback.
Okay.
Right. So I think actually so Bertrand had actually gone back out on patrol after he had told everybody, and so the desk officer who received like Muscarello's like his whole thing as he comes in is pretty much convinced that something is going on, that like there's some series of events. These events are too close in appearance for this to just be random
it gets to a point like that. It gets to a point where you're like, we got to do something, because there's enough people now saying that we can't just be like, it's nothing. We have to at least send someone.
Yeah. They don't got Space Force yet.
Well, he calls it.
Take your fucking 6-shooter and start shooting at the sky. Like,
funny
you get the fuck out of here.
Funny you should say that.
Get the fuck out of here.
So Officer Toland actually radios Bertrand, and he tells him to, hey, come back. Like, I think those ladies that we were kind of goofing on, like that might actually have something to it. So you need to come in here. We got another guy in here reporting some strange lights in the sky. We need you to come in and maybe you can talk to him.
I love how you have 2 women complaining about something. You're like, wow, this bitch is crazy. Some dude walks in. You're like, oh, we might have something.
Oh, they're
hysterical.
What are you on your rag? Like, what the?
Was a full moon out there tonight, ladies?
The 60s were a wild time.
So Bertrand gets back to the station about at 3 a.m. and then listens to Muscarello's story, and he says, okay, well, we got to go check it out. And
I think Muscarello is visibly shaken enough. Like, you got to remember, he's taking a tumble in the ditch. He's like apart. Distraught. He's coming apart, and it's plain.
It's starting to show.
From everyone.
Yeah.
It's starting to show. So I think that how distraught he was actually concerned the officers enough where they're like, all right, like, shit, like something happened to this kid. Fuck those women. But this kid is telling the truth.
This 18-year-old kid. So Bertrand and Muscarello return to the site where Muscarello had his encounter with the object. And once they get there, they go out and they look around, and Bertrand recalls like not really seeing anything at first. Like, they're going out there into the field. There's like a large open field that's near the road, and then there's the house that Muscarello had visited, and then there's the horse corral. Is pretty much. And so they begin to walk out into the field in the direction of the horse corral.
It's like a fucking legit horror scene. Like, is what's unfolding here.
So they get out there, Bertrand's probably got his flashlight and all those things. And then all of a sudden the dogs start to bark. So you get dogs start to bark from behind, like these, he said that there was these, like these 2 pine trees, like in the distance, in shadow or whatever. But between these 2 pine trees, this bright object starts to rise out from behind these pine trees.
Dude, and not only do dogs start barking, there's like the horses again start going fucking
nature, boys.
Nature. Yeah, nature starts naturing. No, nature starts naturing to the extreme. Times 2.
Shakes nature right out of nature itself.
Yeah, it's like fucking nature's everywhere at that point. Like, they're like, oh, crickets are going fucking cricketing, horses are horsing, dogs are dogging. Like, it's fucking
like
wild up there.
Beginning of Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
And so Bertrand and Muscarello.
Bears are running out of the woods on fire.
Bertrand and Muscarello would recall like this object like coming up as it comes above like the tree line of these pine tree from behind these pine trees. Like the entire area is just bathed in a reddish hue. Like it's just everything just goes red from the objects, like the light that it's emanating.
And you got to remember that this is like where they're looking is like kind of a crested hill. So like this thing just kind of fucking rises up above the trees and kind of just fucking illuminates their landing. So now it's like it's sitting on top of this hill, like illuminating the area they're standing in. So they're just like very apparent that this thing, whatever it is like is fixated on them. Like
and so, yeah. And Officer Bertrand, he had done a stint in the Air Force. Like he had done he'd done 4 years in there. And so he always recalls being familiar with aircraft, like military aircraft. And again, like the Exeter is like near an Air Force base. It's Pease Air Force Base is the nearest one that people were familiar with. And this object didn't fit any kind of like configuration that Bertrand was familiar with, that he could recall like ever seeing. And it was fucking silent in the sky.
Yeah,
no
like
sound.
Not
was probably the most disturbing
sound.
Detail of this entire.
Well, technically it did have sound, but all the sound was through nature. There was a ton of sound going on, but it had nothing to do with the craft.
But yeah, that's one of the most disturbing, because it's like, okay, if it were that low, like you definitely hear a plane at that point. I know people, like, you can say like, oh, you can see lights up in the sky, there's no sound, but planes don't have to be that high to like not have a lot of sound. Like you don't have to be that high.
Anything within like 5 minutes of landing, you can hear the plane, no problem.
Yeah,
so if there's
the other thing I'll say is
maybe.
I'm going to make a bold claim that no one here, none of us, has been out at night and has all of a sudden found yourself illuminated by a fucking airplane, 20,000 feet in the air.
You speak for yourself, all right?
That's never happened to anyone, because that's impossible. Like no one's been like, holy fuck, I'm illuminated. How am I illuminated?
What about when I'm standing there with my high-powered laser pointer?
Well, that's the FBI.
Yeah, because it's crashing down towards you.
Am I about to get arrested? Is that what happens there?
That's the Black Hawk helicopter coming in.
It's true. It was a helicopter. I ran.
So as this object is now illuminated thing, it starts to show some sort of intention where it starts to tilt forward, and then we're going to take a break, because that's probably the time.
Suspense! The suspense is killing me, Dan!
I fucking love it. We'll be right back with what happens after this thing makes it tilt.
So, piss jugs, eh?
Piss jugs,
We're back.
So everyone listening to this is also pissing in a bottle, right? Under the desk.
Yeah. When we say we're going on break, it's just we're all filling up bottles in the studio. We compare whose bottle's the fullest.
Sometimes try a can.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't
for
work.
a little bit of challenge.
For a challenge.
Yeah. Cans aren't the best, because then you mix up which is the full can and which is you got to
keep those cans on the ground.
Like,
for sure.
Touch it. Yeah.
Well, the warm ones. Avoid the warm ones.
That's a little warm.
It might have not been piss. A quick segue, but one time at Jam, I was smoking joints and I was putting them in my beer can, and then the next Jam, I was drinking the same beer, picked up the wrong can, just a big swig of fucking ash. The grossest thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah,
it stayed with me for like 3 days. I could not get that taste out.
All right, so fucking UFO crests this hill and is fucking bearing down on these two poor souls, like the Officer Bertrand and poor Muscarello, who's had to be dragged back out to the scene. He's like, I guess I'll show you. And now this thing is back and it's tilting down, bearing down at them, headed right for them.
So this thing's aggressive, eh?
Yeah, well, it's scary.
Seems like
for
it.
sure.
Yeah, it seems to show some sort of intention or something. It's that it's returned to the area that it, was menacing Muscarello previously, and now you've got Bertrand and Muscarello out there, and this craft with like from where it was like above the tree line up there, it kind of tilts forward is what they remember. Like it makes like it goes in at an angle and then starts coming towards them, and then it starts like getting down to the point where Bertrand. They remember this like clearly.
He's like, I remembered my police training.
Well, it's like
Step one.
So,
police officer, stop! Halt!
Announce your presence.
Muscarello recalls Bertrand actually drawing his service pistol and then just yelling, "I'll shoot it!" Repeatedly.
I'll shoot it. He got down on one knee. He got down on one knee and was aiming with two hands, screaming.
So he's going for intimidation.
I'll shoot it! I'll shoot it!
That's all intimidation.
Yeah.
I think Bertrand reports that he doesn't seem to recall actually saying that, but he's like, I could have said that because I was in such a state, like at that point, initial state of panic, that he's just responding on reflex. Like he's just, he's leaning back on Air Force and police training and just being like, I don't know exactly what to do. I'll get my gun out and I guess I'll shoot it if it comes any closer.
And to be honest, one of the reports I read, the first instance, Bertrand was like, I kept my cool because of my training, and I actually was about to unholster my pistol, but on second thought, I was like, how is a pistol how is this gonna work at shooting at some sort of craft? And then Muscarello was like, yeah, this motherfucker pulled out his gun instantly and started screaming at the thing. And he's like, yeah, maybe that also is a very good possibility. That is also may have happened. The two things could have happened. They both could be true. Critical incident stress. I don't know. I don't remember.
It got cloudy. I have no idea.
He's like, maybe I cried. I don't know. Did he tell you I pissed myself?
Silence. Everything you can or will do.
I'm fucking shoot.
Stop resisting.
You got to train the witnesses.
According to Bertrand, like he thinks better of shooting this thing because it's like, yeah, what would a service pistol do? Or I'm not sure what I would be shooting at. So
I've seen cartoons shoot the gas tank wherever it is.
Right, exactly.
Blows up instantly.
Fucking boom.
Yeah. So he reholsters his revolver and he says that he grabbed Muscarello from where they were standing and they both ran back.
Are you fucking seeing this? Are you fucking seeing this?
He picks up.
Shaking the poor kid.
He's shaking him by his collar.
Why did you want me?
So he reportedly grabs Muscarello and drags him back, and they both run back to the patrol car, where Bertrand radios another Exeter policeman who's out on patrol, David Hunt, for assistance. Calling for backup at this point. We need to get somebody else out here.
And he radios, and they're actually both huddled together, like on the back side of the car from where this thing was. They're just fucking like crouched down, like, holy fuck, Jesus, what is that thing?
So the object is remaining kind of like where it is. Like it starts to move toward them, or it just kind of remains in the sky at some point, and they're both huddled behind the car, or standing near the car until David Hunt, the other officer, arrives.
And Bertrand was fucking screaming over the radio, like for help, apparently, to the point that like, as David Hunt starts to pull up, this object actually kind of retreats over the hill so you can't see. So when David Hunt gets there and sees them like kind of like huddled, his immediate reaction is he starts making fun of them. Like he's like, yo, what are you doing? Dude, you're fucking crying into the radio, dude.
Are you guys crying?
He's like,
I'm not crying.
You guys crying? Like, what's going on? You're screaming. Like, he's like laughing at them. Like instantly, like he's just like he's making fun of them, and then all of a sudden, as he's making fun of them, this thing just fucking reappears over the hill. And he's like, oh shit, he's not lying.
Yeah, so the trios stood there and actually observed this object floating, and with no sound, and they observed it kind of perform maneuvers in the night sky that they said that there's no way that a normal plane that they know of would be able to do. Like it kind of, it was floating, wobbling, kind of like
darting,
like sudden changes in direction. Yeah, sudden changes in direction,
back, like just sudden stops. Like they're just like one of these guys is an Air Forceman, like who's been around like planes and knows planes.
All this guy's credibility has gone out the fucking window.
Because they were
He's
crying?
a bullshitter, first of all, and now he's shitting his pants, screaming. Yeah, all his fucking street cred as the Air Force is garbage.
As soon as you fucking start crying on a phone call, you fucking
jean shorts,
bitch.
Yeah, no, he's fucking.
So
I'll be honest with you. Like it's pretty fucking weird, but at the same time, like it's just a light moving around like crazy. Like why is everybody shitting their pants so bad?
Well, it's not. It's a light attached to a fucking giant object. Like everyone's saying that it's between like 40 and 60 feet long or big.
I guess.
Like round.
I don't know. Everybody's losing their minds.
Well, in 60s, like you're probably like red. You're like, oh, it's fucking Soviets.
Russians.
Like, God, Jesus. Like it's fucking commies.
So shoot it. He had the right idea.
Why wouldn't he shoot it? Obviously, this guy's a fucking plant from Russia.
So they apparently like they watch this object, do its thing for like a couple of minutes, and then they say it just darted away at sudden speed over the trees and towards Hampton to the southeast. Now, just after this, like the three are standing there, they have no idea what they've just seen.
They're probably honestly just like debriefing with each other, like, holy fuck, what the fuck is that? What was that? What did we just see? What just happened? What did we just witness? Was that there's no way it's like it would be exactly like the four of us if this happened to us. You'd be kind of just like processing it, being like, there was no sound. What could that be? Did you see the back and forth? Like, how is that possible? That's not even a fucking thing. And like as they're having this argument overhead, they fucking hear a B-47 bomber fly over past in the direction that the UFO was going, and they were like, "Well, that's a fucking plane." Like right away, like that almost was like, "Yeah, that's a plane. Like that's a plane. Like we know what a plane is here. That's obviously headed in the same direction." Like they're fucking rattled that they hear this. They're like, "There's a difference between that thing that just flew over and whatever the fuck we just saw."
So they're obviously don't know what they're saying, so they return to the station. So after the three of them get back to the station, there's like a short period, and then they hear the station receives a call from a Hampton telephone operator who said that she actually talked to a man who had been audibly upset as he had been chased by what appeared to be that same UFO or this same object, this brilliantly illuminated red glowing object. And so
what year was Charlie Red Star? Because this is
you know what?
Is this the first Charlie Red Star? This is way far. This is New England's like thousands of K away from.
Yeah, but if Charlie Red Star is fast, because like the Charlie Red Star also kind of fucking played games with people,
Charlie Red Star was an innocent fucking mascot. Like this guy's an asshole.
Charlie Red Star's a fucking saint.
He's changed over the years, though.
Right?
Yeah.
This is
put on some weight. He's a lot bigger
Canadian
now.
saint, American horror.
This is Chuck Red Star. This is his American counterpart.
Chucky Red.
Chucky Red Star. But before the operator could actually connect, because she's talking to this man on the phone, and he's trying to tell her what's going on. Before she could connect the man to the police station, like he was trying to reach, she said the connection was abruptly broken, like the phone cut off, and couldn't reconnect with the caller after that. So, whether this is a disruption as a part of the UFO or something happened to this guy.
It remains to be seen. But like this kind of like this fucked up these officers enough that they're like, we're writing official reports because we don't know what the fuck we saw. Like contact the military, contact the Air Force Base. Like we need to talk to everyone to figure out what the fuck this thing was, because in their minds, I'm sure they're thinking that like this was something unidentified, and obviously something like those B-47 bombers was scrambled to try to intercept it.
Isn't that
That would make
isn't that a
sense to me.
huge plane though? Like that seems like a
huge plane.
terrible interceptor
It's not like
plane.
an interceptor plane.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there
but
were-
maybe
there
it was
was
just
some
in the
stuff-
area, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
there
it's
was
in the area and
probably
they're like, hey, go
something
check
they
that
had
out.
yeah.
It's all they
Well,
had.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to the naturing and the and the planes planing.
The bombers bombing.
The bombers bombing.
Yeah.
So they file an official report. They kind of write all this stuff down, but they also like loop in. They also copy pretty much the Pease Air Force Base, the nearby Air Force Base, and then they're like, this is where a full on investigation is open. So there's the police call the Pease Air Force and they say, hey, do you guys have anything up there? And like at first, like Pease says like, no, we don't really have anything up there, at the moment, like within the last, what you told us. And so,
and not of the description and not of that flashing light pattern.
Right. And so with this, like this is prime 1965. This is, during Project Blue Book. So an actual investigation, which is part of Project Blue Book, is opened into the events of, the Exeter UFO incident. So the Air Force sent one Major David Griffin and Lieutenant Alan Brandt to interview these three men about what they had actually seen. So these two Air Forcemen go ahead or airmen, I guess, they go and they collect the accounts from the eyewitnesses that were involved. So this is involving, this includes Muscarello and the police officers, Bertrand and Hunt. And with their reports, initially, the Air Force offers up the explanation or suggests that these witnesses had observed a refueling operation, which involved a certain area. So they
fucking Zuccarello deserves a little bit more credit than that, man.
Yeah.
Guy was having a come apart.
Yeah. I mean, although the mid-air refueling is cool, it just doesn't.
Well, I would say you
Were they
could
refilling
maybe
that
pawn
bomber?
that. You could maybe chalk that up to that if there wasn't an airman, like a former Air Force veteran.
You give these guys way too much
in the
credit,
witnesses,
man. You give 'em way
because
too much
he's
credit.
well, the problem with that is like, dude, they were like, yeah, it's a refueling operation involving a KC-97 aircraft. That's a fucking huge ass plane. Like, it's a big plane that makes a lot of noise. And like all these, they're like right away, they're like, that is 100% not what we saw. We did not see any kind of refueling operation whatsoever. It's ludicrous.
So the only way they'd be refueling a plane like that over in the States is just for practice. There's no way. They just land and fill up the tanks, boys. So they'd just be for practice.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, night fueling.
It's so complicated to refuel in midair. You only do it while you can't land or you're too far away from the base, I would imagine, in practical terms. So you got to practice it. So that'd be the only thing. Like we're practicing midair refueling. Like, okay, I guess.
So
How did the KC-97 come to a complete halt in midair?
Who opened the gas cap? All right, 65. Do they have automated gas caps?
So
Probably not.
No, you know what? There's been a lot of crazy jobs in the military and Air Force and stuff. There's probably a guy who had to climb up on that fucking roof and like pop the cap open. He strapped himself. He's got like 8 different carabiners on the way up.
That was badass.
He takes his little pry bar up there. He fucking opens the cap. All right, we're good.
So these Air Force officers,
go.
they asked that the three that they interviewed, Muscarello, Bertrand, and Hunt, they asked them not to report their sighting like right away to the press, at least hold off on reporting to it. But they weren't aware that a reporter from the Manchester Union Leader local newspaper, had already interviewed them, like before that they had reached them, like before they had gotten to tell them to kind of not to think.
Well,
so,
and it's there's a little bit weird of account for Muscarello too, because he says that like the next day, and he doesn't know exactly who these people are because they came dressed in black, wearing suits, 2 men, but we can assume that it's the Air Force because both those other 2 witnesses said that these 2 individuals were from the Air Force. But Muscarello states that these 2 men came to the door, and one of them at his house had a fucking briefcase handcuffed to his wrist, and they came inside. and they were like wanting to know about his account. He's sharing his account, and the one took the briefcase, he unlocked it and left it in the kitchen, and they went and sat in the living room and were having a conversation. Well, while they were having a conversation, Muscarello's mother was like in the kitchen, was like, well, that's kind of weird, opened the fucking briefcase and just said there was just a lot of loose pictures of like strange lights in this briefcase, and she's like looking at them being like, oh, what the hell is going on here? And then one of the guys came back in the room, was like, hey, what are you doing in there? Started screaming at Muscarello's mom, to the point where he had to come in and be like, hey, you can't talk to my mom like that. You get the fuck out of my house. You're not welcome here anymore. And one of them turned to him, pointed at him, and was like, listen, what you think you saw, you did not see. Mm-hmm. And then they fucking left.
So that whole fucking story makes no sense and is dumb. Honestly, it makes no sense.
But it's one of the accounts. It's one of the accounts.
Dumb. It doesn't make it. Yeah. I'm going to go to so much trouble to handcuff my fucking self to this briefcase that I'm just going to unfucking cuff myself and leave it randomly in a fucking person's kitchen.
He had to go to the bathroom. Like,
and then
he's like, try to
you bring your
handcuff.
He's like, do you mind? This is really uncomfortable. They're like, yeah.
Yeah, and then this lady who sees two government officials who care enough to fucking handcuff himself to this fucking briefcase and leave it there. Then she decides to fucking go pop it open. Plus, you're gonna tell me this guy doesn't have a lock on the fucking briefcase? None of that shit makes any sense.
There's no 1, 2, 3 lock.
Yeah, the story doesn't make any sense, and I don't believe it.
That was 0, 0, 0.
It is one of the accounts, though. That's the thing, though. Like, one of the accounts is this is what happened. And Muscarello gets mad at them and fucking sends them away. 0 sense. You're like, why the
hey,
fuck?
Don't you fucking talk to my ma that way, huh?
Yeah. You take your fucking briefcase, get the fuck out of here. He's re-handcuffing it to himself. He's like, I will.
Wait, does the Boston accent expand out of Boston to New England, or is it?
I mean, that would be a New England accent.
Oh yeah,
that guy's last name is fucking Zuccarello.
Is Boston? That's what I mean. Is Boston its own accent, or is it?
Yeah, Boston's like its own accent. If you went to New England, that's the pet cemetery. Like, that's pet cemetery.
Okay. So wicked smart doesn't get out of Boston. Don't want to go over there.
Yeah. Whatever you bury there always comes back. You know, it's like that kind of one. Fucking weird one.
That's not the wicked smart.
Wicked smart.
No.
That's the guy in Rick and Morty where he fucking wants to tell him his stories, and then fucking Morty pushes him down the stairs.
Yeah,
but you have to listen to my stories. See? That's exactly what it sounded like.
You didn't like my story?
I hate that guy.
So did you look at my briefcase?
If you're asking for a critique and you get an honest critique, suck it. All right, just eat it. Eat that critique, or else you get pushed down the stairs and die. All right, that's the moral of that episode.
So you have the after this, a sequence of events is pretty interesting, because you have Muscarello Bertrand's report already kind of out in the infosphere at this point, because it's already gotten out. Like, they already gave it to the newspaper, and the account just like spreads out through a couple other newspapers. Like, it's going all over the place. So the official statement that is collected by the Project Blue Book, the Air Force officers, like, who were out there to get the story.
First off, they actually went around to like all the fucking like the stores and gas stations, and at first just try to buy all of the newspapers. They're just like, yeah, we'll take all the newspapers today.
And that probably came out of their own pocket, because it's like, Project Blue Book's not going to reimburse them.
And they were probably like, oh, we were here fast.
Yeah, we kind of, we screwed up.
Oh.
We're going to buy the newspapers from the newsstands, even though there's thousands more copies that are still unsold.
It's like, when Captain finds out about this, we're going to be so fucking screwed. Like, oh, no, we'll just buy all the newspapers and we'll be fine, right? And you're like, that's a stupid idea, but yeah, let's do it.
This is such a stupid idea. What about all the people who's got newspapers chucked on their front porch that day?
They're just driving in the morning,
picking them up. They find the newspaper. They're driving down on the newspaper boy. And he's just like pedaling, just like, like, get back here,
fucking hit him with your car.
You're taking it too far.
It's expendable.
What you think you saw? You did not see.
They have to beat to death that one old man who waits for the newspaper boy every morning at 3:30 a.m. because he wants to read the news.
They're fighting with it. This is not for you.
So you have the story gets out before the Pentagon is actually, they don't have a statement ready when a reporter they have a press conference and a reporter asks them about this event. And so they just it seems like they just kind of offered up an explanation, like off the cuff, and basically being like, hey, these men probably had mistaken some celestial phenomenon, stars and
Yeah, they're like, it was
whatnot.
a heat inversion.
Yeah, temperature inversion, and they saw some stars in the sky that looked funny.
Yeah, classic.
So, but then the thing is that after Project Blue Book has a chance to kind of put their report together, they actually offered up a conflicting explanation for that, saying that there was like, they offer up another one saying that I think they actually said like, no, like they contested with that, like, no, they probably didn't see the star thing. That's not a good explanation or a suitable explanation for what they saw. They said a more plausible explanation is that they perhaps might have seen what they said was like a strategic air command and NORAD training exercise that had been going on around the same time that they had done this. Like around the same time, I say around the same time, but it was like just within that night, and probably was said to have concluded like an hour or 2 hours before this.
These events
had, before they had seen anything.
So it was like they were grasping at straws, being like, it was this. And then when the official report came out, they're like, yeah, but that ended officially on the books 2 hours prior to the commencement of any of these issues. They're like, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We told you what it was. What do you mean? Stop asking questions.
Yeah. And to the point where, with Project Blue Book's supervisor, Hector Quintanilla, or Major, U.S. Air Force Major Hector Quintanilla. I think we've talked about him at least once or twice. We've mentioned him.
Yeah,
and,
I think
he actually wrote a letter to address to Bertrand and Hunt, saying, quote, in addition to aircraft from this operation, which was called Big Blast, which is a pretty sweet name, there were also 5 B-47 aircraft flying in your area during this period. Since there were many aircraft in the area at the time, and there were no reports of unidentified objects from personnel engaged in this operation, we might then assume that the objects you observed between midnight and 2 a.m. might be associated with this military air operation. But like we said, that air operation was said to have concluded like hours before.
Well, and you had adamant by these two police officers that were like, without a doubt, 100%, we did not see an aircraft that night. That was not any aircraft that we've ever seen. It was silent, and it moved in such patterns that is impossible by any known aircraft.
So this event got like such publicity and became kind of just like a staple for discussion like around that time that there is an anecdote that is kind of associated with this story, saying that so it got to a point where an Air Force officer who worked at the nearby Pease Air Force Base had claimed that the UFOs people had been seeing were just lights from Pease Air Force Base. Like he was just saying, I've had enough of this UFO nonsense. This is just lights from the Air Force Base.
Yeah, and he's like, you guys were all mistaken, because like at this point you got to remember they've been like, yo, you saw stars. Yo, there was an operation here. Yo, it was just a plane. And like everything has been like disproven at this point. So you have military officials at the base being like, listen, you guys are just idiots. It's fucking lights from the base. And guess what? We'll prove it. If there's doubters here, we'll prove it. We want you to all gather in the field where you saw the UFO, and we'll turn on the lights. And so that's what they did. They organized anyone who was interested to go to the field where this event was seen. And then when they were ready, they had military officials that came out to the field with the audience that they had gathered from Exeter. And they were like, on the radio, they're like, all right, everybody ready to see the UFO that is just the lights from the Air Force Base? You ready? Cue the lights.
Nothing.
And everyone sat there. And they're looking. Everyone's looking around. It's fucking middle of the night. It's dark as fuck. He's like, cue the lights. Cue the lights.
This thing on? Is this thing on?
The lights on. Turn the lights on. And get it back on the radio call. They're like, yeah, we turn them on. The lights are on. They're fucking blaring. All the lights are on. And so they had to sit. The military officials who now have claimed that, yeah, we know all these other shit is nonsense. It was just the base lights. Have to sit there in the dark in front of all these people and be like,
Yeah, it's said that the Air Force
drive
officer
away.
is described to have slunk back to the seat of the staff car that he had arrived in and drove off. Like, people were just like laughing at him because
Like
they had heard
fucking
the-
boo.
laughing.
Got like serious Cybertruck fucking vibes from the first
Yeah.
time they tried to unveil it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
So they, so that's one of the more things. But yeah, it's just one of these interesting things. So it still kind of remains to this day a bit of a mystery, and enough that it's so popular in that area that there is I'm pretty sure there's a UFO festival associated with
Yeah.
the
Yeah, an
event
Exeter
every year.
Incident Festival every year.
Yeah. So it's like
Raises money for the children's hospital and all sorts of stuff. So like, if you're in the area, definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Some clam chowder.
Yeah.
Some Exeter chowder.
Or you can fucking buy a party platter.
There you go. So the case, and so the KC-97 explanation would come up again and get revisited by the Skeptical Inquirer, pretty popular magazine back in the day that would usually kind of offer up. I don't know if a lot of people remember Skeptical Inquirer. Like I kind of do a little bit, but you can go back and archive issues where they did a big one about this one, and they talked about that they had another Air Force veteran that they contacted, and he said that that kind of lines up. A description of what they gave is kind of like it resembles
loosely
that loosely resembles that, because the lights could be explained, he said, by these are the sequence that you would see when the boom would, like when you'd have the refueling boom like come out of the plane, and those lights would be like the signal lights for approaching and disconnecting and these things. Like that's what they would be used for. So it's like yeah, that kind of lines up with that. But again, like if you still think about it, you're like, what? But there was no sound, and this thing was like, with the way it was moving, I'm not really sure. But that's the one that they kind of went with that.
To me,
article.
the official, like, if you can look up, go right now on fucking hashtag, look it up, go on Google, go on YouTube, look up KC-97 refueling plane, and like that plane is not silent, and like even if it was flying at night, you got to remember that like. These things were, the report was silent.
And close enough to the ground that the light is illuminating the area around.
If you can see the glow of the light, that's close enough that sound should be able to knock through the air.
That it's fucking blinding you to the point where you're seeing spots. So that's ludicrous. Now, to get back to the point where the naturing callback that I said, remember
ceasing to nature.
One of the interesting aspects that our boy Raymond Fowler from NICAP looked into is he was going around and talking to these farms and stuff in these areas that were affected by this light, and they said that Air Force officials had come to their farms and asked them specific questions. Were chickens laying the same amount of eggs? Was there any reduction in the production of eggs from the chickens? Were cows yielding the same amount of milk? Like they wanted all these questions about farm animals and how they were producing, and if
was there a reduction in the production?
Yeah, was there any reduction in the production? Which is interesting because. So they were obviously aware that these things had some sort of effect on nature, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you. I mean, that's actually a kind of a good line of questioning, I would think, because like that would confirm that there had been some kind of disturbance. Like cows are known for
stress.
Right? Yeah, like stress.
That'll definitely
stress in these animals would indicate, like if these would be indicators that something had spooked them or stressed them out at some point during the evening or around that time. So yeah, I was like, that's actually a pretty interesting.
How about the cow's milk turned to blood?
Yeah. It's like it could be UFO or the apocalypse. I don't know. We'll put that in the report.
But this one is a fascinating one because you have an account of two police officers who like witnessed this event, and like every single person that witnessed this outside of the kid, outside of fucking Muscarello, was like skeptic at first and like put this off. And like you had the women who seen it and reported it to the police. You had calls from people living in the houses seeing this. You had calls from other towns, and like Muscarello report it. And then you have two skeptical police officers who go and are fucking like, one of them's drawing their pistols. They're so fearful. And who's an Air Force, like used to be in the Air Force, who's saying that like there was no sound. If this guy's coming to me like, oh yeah, there was a huge, it was like, bah, like loud, you'd be like, okay, like maybe it was a fucking plane. But like the description that they give, no sound. This thing was moving in a pattern that did not make sense for any kind of aircraft. And the light was illuminating them to the point where they were almost like blinded by the light. That is so fucking close that any kind of official like narrative of this thing, of it being some sort of plane, is ludicrous, because you would fucking hear it. Like that, like it's such an insult to these guys to be like, it was just a plane. You don't know what you saw. Right. Because it would be loud. You would hear it. Like that to me is ludicrous. Like this is one of the more interesting ones we've done in a long time, where I'm like, holy shit. Like these guys, I think these guys legit saw a fucking Charlie Red Star or something out there. Like something was out there in those fields that day.
Wonder, like, you don't think, let's say they were doing some type of nighttime operation, do you think they would have been using any type of like fucking spotlights or anything like that? And maybe that's why it seems so bright.
Yeah, but no sound though. Like, so that would be,
that's why you're seeing like it's some type of high powered spotlight, and that's why you're not hearing it, because they're quite a bit higher than
like maybe, but like it makes sense. Like if it were an aircraft, like they're saying that you know, in the Skeptical Inquirer article, they were talking about they would use red lights because that's what you would use to preserve a pilot's night vision. Like you wouldn't use any other like really bright lights, but so like it would have to be red for these ones. But I'm not sure, like if you had like a red spotlight kind of,
but here's the thing,
it's still
though,
close enough to the ground where it's like it's illuminating. Like I wouldn't think it would be powerful enough to be like illuminate the ground from an altitude that you're like you wouldn't be able to hear something. Especially,
I don't know. That's just a question. I have no
the interesting thing with that brought to my attention is like the fact that they use red light to maintain the pilot's night vision. So if that's what it is, some sort of silent craft, like maybe that's exactly right, but this is some sort of extraterrestrial intelligence that has eyesight similar to us at night, and that's exactly why they're using this red light to illuminate, is to maintain their night vision.
They're predators.
Right? Yeah, predators. It's interesting, right? Because it's like everything about that, other than that the red light explanation, I'm like, okay, I can see that. Other than this thing, by all accounts, was so close to the ground that it was illuminating them. It was moving in patterns that cannot be done by any known aircraft that we currently have, let alone that we had in 1965 or whatever the fuck we had. So like to me, I'm like, man, this is one of those rare ones where you're like, I fucking lean towards it. Like there was either some sort of fucking advanced technology that we've never seen before and we still don't see, or this was a legit extraterrestrial like encounter. And to be honest, I lean towards that, because I feel like if this was some sort of advanced military thing from 1965 that was silent and moved like this, as it's described, it's 2023 now. Like I feel like we would know about it at this point, you know what I mean? Or have heard of something or seen something similar, and we still don't. There's nothing that I can think of today that doesn't make a sound that moves like this and can shine lights like this. So it's a fucking super interesting case.
All the UFOs now can do it. Silent. They wobble like that, like the leaf, like a fucking gimbal.
Yeah. Silent but deadly.
And that's, you guys don't talk about aliens anymore.
Yeah.
We've moved. We've progressed past alien talk.
It's this one's like a fascinating. It's one of those ones where I'm like, I can't believe we never stumbled upon this one earlier. Like it's so fucking wild.
I came across this one I came across this one like a month ago or something. I put it on my list to be like, well, we need to do that one because it sounded really interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating because you have an instance here where it's almost like all the officials that would normally issue like reports on this stuff were caught off guard. So they're almost like fucking backpedaling the whole time, like, stars. And they're like, well, it couldn't have been stars because of this and this and this. They're like, military operation that we had going on in the area. They're like, Yeah, but that ended 2 hours prior based on our FOIA request. They're like, it's the lights from the base. And they fucking set up this elaborate plan where they're going to turn the lights on and embarrass themselves. Like it's nonstop. Like the official narrative, it just collapses. Like that, nothing can stick to this story from an official narrative of trying to explain this away with swamp gas or, flights. None of that sticks. So this is an interesting case for me where the official narrative, none of that outside of the eyewitness accounts, like sticks for me where I'm like, maybe, like a lot of cases we talk about, there's a part of me where I go, I could see it being this, or I could see it being that. This one, I'm like, none of the official stories, the officials that have come out and said, this is what happened, makes a lick of sense based on the eyewitness testimony. So it's fascinating to me. I think this is a fucking legit, these people had legit sightings of some sort of extraterrestrial craft in 1965.
Could very well be.
I'll put a fucking stamp on that shit. Fucking official.
ET official.
ET official. Ron Pond approved, baby. This fucking aliens.
It's
cool.
It is a cool one, no doubt. 65.
Right, well,
fuck, so long ago.
Yeah, yeah. Let's get some recent ones. We need some.
Well, we have
2024 big
some.
years.
We have some recent ones.
Yeah.
We got
Grush.
He's claiming a whole bunch of shit. He just never tells you anything.
I just throwing a bunch of stuff out there.
Behind closed doors. It's all behind closed doors.
Everyone's told Grush.
Who's told? Someone else tell us. Then not behind closed doors. Just take the risk.
Well, how about the people that are telling Grush?
Move to Russia and spill the beans like fucking Snowden on the NSA.
We forgot to talk about before? Theorite of the week.
Can we give it to the guy who said we don't talk about
again.
aliens? Can we tell it? Can we give it to the guy who said we don't talk about aliens anymore?
Yeah. Let's give it to him. Hold on. Theorite of the week this week goes to. Oh, let me pull it up here.
We're going to give a Richard Serrett passive aggressive Canadian nomination of Theorite of the Week to this guy.
Yeah, no, and it's honestly it's all love. Interstellar Year 1 on our Discord.
Theorite
It's not wrong.
With Theorite of the Week with alternating caps and lowercase.
In a perfect ode to this guy.
Theorite of the
They weren't
Week.
wrong.
We responded to your request with a fucking awesome alien case. So there you fucking go. You're the Theater of the Week. Thanks for bringing that up. We had a good laugh. Again, it's all in fun. It's all in jest. We're not fucking mad at you. We're just fucking razzing you.
Just kidding.
So we got new Patreon supporters.
Oh, we got a couple. If you're not supporting the show and you want to support your boys, support your favorite podcast, you got to go to alientheorist.com. You got to hit that support tab. And then we're going to read your names, probably butcher them, but that's what we do. This week's new supporters, we got Clipped, Adam Watkins, and Matthew Merritt. On Patreon and on Supercast, we got Brendan Richardson and Braden Fraser. Braden with the actual proper spelling of Braden, I believe, with the Y.
Yeah, the Y.
It changes you. It doesn't make you say Brendan or anything. It's the Y makes you put that Bray. Oh, I got you, Braden.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's it. Thank you very much for supporting the show.
And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes